Yo, what's going on YouTube? Hey, have you wondered what's going on in the real estate market as far as office spaces, as far as retail, as far as multifamily? Are you listening to the news about, oh my God, real estate is crashing, but don't really understand what the hell that means? Yo, we're going to break that down today. Yo, who am I? Yo, I am Clarence Carter, just investor. Most people know me as CJ, so that's the way we're going to keep it a little bit informal. And I want to talk about what's going on in today's market. We see a lot that's going on as far as people talking about the real estate market is going to crap, right? It is going to crap right now. And we're talking about it typically when we hear things in the news right now, we hear it from the standpoint of office spaces, right? Those are the first things to go, right? And why were they the first things to go? Because when COVID happened, right? When the pandemic happened and the pandemic hit, we exposed ourselves, right? We completely exposed ourselves into um, understanding that we no longer need to be working in physical locations, right? Of course, Zoom, WebEx, the Teams, all these pieces of software existed far before the pandemic actually hit. But what the pandemic did, because people weren't able to go out, people weren't able to go to the office spaces, they weren't able to go to work anymore. We quickly adapted to utilizing these pieces of software to operate from different locations. And when we saw that we could do that, companies that were not involved in commercial real estate, companies that were not involved in these arenas, banks, folks that are in construction, essential workers, when we were not involved in these different things, yo, we really exposed how things can work, right? As businesses grow, right? A business's job is to grow their revenue, right? They're made to make more money, and then once they have made more money at the same time, especially when companies go public, one of their big goals is to reduce expenses. We see that through layoffs. We see that through ushering in lower cost labor. We see that in many different facets, and one of those facets always and always has to be, can we minimize our real estate portfolio? Can we minimize our footprint in the amount of places that we're leasing or renting out from places to house our workers? Those are one of the things that comes up. It's a huge thing that comes up. And, and it really came to a head when the pandemic hit. Why? Because these companies that had no stake in the game as far as real estate was concerned, they said, well, hell, I don't need to be paying you $1 million a year or more, right? 10, 20, 40, 50, $80,000 a month in rent. I don't need to be paying you this stuff, right? And we're not just talking about small spaces. We're talking about full-blown skyscrapers, right? That are in New York, full-blown skyscrapers that are in Charlotte, full-blown skyscrapers that are in Houston, LA, in all of these large primary and secondary markets. We realize that we don't need as many. So these companies decided, hey, in order to look good, in order for this CEO and this board to get their bonuses, what can they do? They can take the easy route and go ahead and reduce their expenses by paying less money. So what happens when these businesses decide to do this? When these businesses decide that they're going to when they are going to minimize their expenses, what happens? Well, the owners of those pieces of property take a hit. The hit is where, because these properties, commercial size properties, these properties are valued based on how much money they make. And guess what? If there's no money coming in, if there's no leases, there's no rent, that money that's coming in every single month, just like Elon Musk, as soon as he took over Twitter and said, hey, you know what? I don't like these loans. I don't like these. I mean, he doesn't like these leases. He doesn't like the rental agreements. He decided, I'm not going to pay. And then to the point where he was so bold, he said, I'm not going to pay, and there's nothing you can do about it. What happens? Well, That, my friend, is called an economic vacancy. Vacancy, for those that don't know, is when physical vacancy has two levels to it. There's physical and there's economic. Physical is when the place is vacant, right? No one's there, no one's paying rent, right? That's physical. Economic vacancy is when you got someone in there that's occupying the space, but they ain't paying. That's worse. And it's exactly what he did, right? And others did too. That's just one of the bigger ones that we know. And what that does is it brings down the value of the property. And when we bring down the values of those properties, those real estate investors lose a lot of money, right? And when those real estate investors lose a lot of money, guess who else loses money? The banks. The banks. The banks. The banks are the ones that have written these mortgages. And because they're not able to get they're at risk of not getting their payments in mortgages. What happens? They've lent out this money and there's no money coming back in. That's not the way banks operate, right? That's not the way lenders operate. They lend the money in order to make money and in order to make the interest on the way back. Well, when we see such a huge drop in that forces these investors, that forces these banks into a very scary situation, to where if these folks can't pay the banks aren't bringing the money back in, the banks can go under, right? This causes an epidemic where the banks can get to a point where they're scared if they're even going to have enough money to pay their employees, if they're going to have enough money to keep their lights on. And when you hear this types of stuff, you cause a bank run. And a bank run is just where everyone takes their deposits out. That's when the stuff hits the fan, and it's not a good situation. And banks go under that way, right? They go under in many different ways, but we're talking about today's day and age, right? And so we're at this specific point in time where there are other investors, even the same ones that are witnessing, them being at a place where they could possibly foreclose. They're being at a place where they could possibly lose their properties. Um, we're at a place in time where these folks they don't know what to do, but they're still raising capital and they're still building what's called dry powder. Dry powder is at an all-time high. All-time high. It is higher than it's ever been before. And dry powder just means people that have raised money from smaller investors and just put it in a pot in order for it to be sitting and waiting for the right opportunity to pounce on it. Kind of like a lion, right? Like a lion just sits and waits and then it pounces, right? When they go hunting. Well, this is what's going on, folks. This is what's going on right now. And we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars that is being sat to the side. Who am I to tell you this? Look, I'm a real estate investor myself. I own quite a few single family houses. I've been through over 1,000 units of investments passively in multifamily deals. And I've also worked for not a large, but a very boutique, but very well known commercial brokerage that has done deals with some of the largest private equity groups in the world, right? Blackstone being one of them, and done hundreds of deals under my time spent there, right? And so I was on the data and analytics side, and so understanding how real estate markets work, understanding how population and jobs and all the economics of a particular market works, right? And when I say market, call it city, right? And we can get into a lot of different things. Look, I teach a lot of this stuff. I go really deep into it. If this is something that you're interested in, in the comments below, there's going to be a link for you to get more information on how to just understand how to value a property. I think that's very, very, very solid for you to understand what things are worth, right? If we were to put this into common terms, right? Like when you understand your value, when you understand your value to the world, oh my gosh, you can be extremely impactful to many. But also, when you understand the value of things and others in the world, you can be just that much more impactful. And so, if you want to learn more, there's more information in the comments below. But look, we're at a place where these large investors are sitting They're sitting and waiting for the right time. They're sitting and letting these folks that have gotten into bad deals. They've paid too much above the fundamental valuations of properties. They're sitting and waiting. They're actually causing the market to crash too, right? Because everyone wants to, right? They're all in cahoots, just like GameStop, right? Remember GameStop happened? GameStop happened, and everyone was in everyone was in alignment on what to do and when to do it. That's exactly what goes on in the commercial real estate space. That's what goes on in the markets in general, just as long as you know what's going on. And so right now in the real estate market, especially the larger commercial real estate market, all of these large players, they know. They're looking at it. They are there, and for one, there's no insider trading either. If you didn't know that, there's no insider trading on commercial real estate, unless we're talking about REITs and all that kind of stuff. But we're not talking about those right now. We're talking about deal to deal, private deals that are going on. There's no insider trading. Folks can do and come as they please. You can talk to whoever you want to. You can partner with whoever it is that you want to at any point in time. So, with no insider trading, guess what? All of these folks are in cahoots. They're like, "Yo, I'm sitting on the sideline. Yo, you see that deal? It's going for half of what it went for last year." And like, all right, well, cool. Well, we still gonna wait because we see it going down even further, right? These are the conversations that are going on today. When you understand the value of something, when you can actually take advantage of these things. And this is where you should be, right? This is why I think this information is very, very, very critical today and tomorrow, because we're getting at a place in time where real estate is coming to a place where we're getting into that place where what's going on, the silver tsunami, right, where the transfer of wealth is getting real. The transfer of wealth is getting super real, and you need to jump on it. And the number way to jump on it is to understand what's going on. The number way to understand how to jump on it is to understand what things are worth, right? When you understand that, that's when the goal comes. So, yo, that's what I'm gonna leave you with for now. I'll be back for more. If you learned anything or would like to learn more, yo, drop me a comment. Let me know what interests you. Let me know what more you'd like to know. And if you liked it, like it. And then until next time, yo, keep learning, keep growing. Peace. Damn.